It's important for us, it's important for Ian, for his memory.
Sue Slatcher and her family have been travelling since dawn from regional New South Wales to a Sydney courtroom.
Just hoping that some of the decisions are in alignment with what we would like to see.
It's been a 5-year wait, but Sue is anxious for answers about the violent death of her son.
He wasn't a bad man at all. He was a very ill man. I'm hoping that the people that need to take a bit of responsibility for what happened to Ian will take that responsibility.
Police fatally shot her son, Ian Fackender, while he was suffering a psychotic episode at his home at Bathurst in rural New South Wales.
We've got a male down, he's been shot. 4 police have accounted for, injured.
He was lying in bed listening to loud music on his headphones.
Ian was being treated for schizophrenia. After he missed an appointment for his monthly dose of medication, police were alerted. They were supposed to take him to hospital.
They were knocking on the door, on the windows, and he didn't hear them, or he didn't seem to be aware of their presence.
An inquest has heard evidence that the senior police officer called out to Ian's home sought advice from a superior officer back at the station who had mental health training. Police later entered the house and went into Ian's dark bedroom.
They went over to his bed and just lifted the doona, and they saw that he had a sword under his covers.
She says Ian held his Star of David sword for protection when he was unwell.
I believe Ian got out of the far side of his bed and started retreating to the corner of his bedroom. He was tasered twice. The first time it didn't work. The second time, I believe he fell to the floor, and then he got up again and started to move around his bed towards the police officers.
The coroner found the officer who shot Ian 4 times was acting in defence of himself and another officer.
It's really hard to think about him dying alone in the way he did, because it was his worst nightmare, something like that. Excuse me.
Coroner Teresa O'Sullivan found Ian's death was anything but inevitable, labelling police's decision to enter Ian's home premature, unnecessary and dangerous. She recommended a system be introduced where officers with more mental health training are prioritised as responders.
I hope with her recommendations that they are taken seriously.
New South Wales Police said it's reviewing the findings and all recommendations directed to police will be considered.
The uniform can be intimidating. Police can be intimidating. So my opinion is, yes, should go in softly, but you can't let the situation get out of hand either. There will be some type of rationale or categorisations.
Former Detective Vince Hurley, who lectures in criminology, says police often aren't the best equipped to deal with mental health patients, but frequently they're the only ones available.
I think generally the police try to do the best job that they can under the circumstances. Now, it's challenging because I don't think there is enough frontline services put into mental health.
In the past 20 years, more than half of people fatally shot by police had a mental illness.
And what's the rest of the day looking like? Is it busy?
Yeah,
Psychiatrist Dr. Jackie Huber works in the emergency department at St Vincent's Hospital in Sydney and understands some of the difficulties police face in such situations.
A person who has severe symptoms in the throes of a crisis may absolutely believe that these hallucinations are indeed coming from the outside world. They're probably experiencing symptoms that are frightening them.
Mark McKenzie is still waiting for answers about the tragic death of his son, Todd. He was driving in July 2019 when he received worrying news.
I got this message, "Hey Dad, I've got 20 effing cops around the house." I didn't even realise that Todd was suffering a psychotic episode because he sounded so straight on the phone and very in control of things. So I didn't worry until I heard the fact that there was a knife. I could see that this thing was going to take on a different dimension.
Police had been called to this residential street at Taree on the New South Wales mid-north coast after Todd was seen outside with a knife. He was inside when police arrived. Todd had been diagnosed with schizophrenia as a teenager and was managing his illness with medication. When Mark spoke to police, he relayed details of his son's condition and sought reassurance they wouldn't break in.
She said, "Look, we're here to peacefully resolve this. This isn't a criminal offence."
A standoff unfolded over 9 hours.
Todd was goaded and he was spoken to in a very unprofessional manner by the police.
Police eventually decided to force entry into the home.
Within 8 seconds he was dead. There are questions that I have that I don't think will ever be answered. I don't know that there's ever going to be an adequate explanation as to why he had to be shot 3 times, or once, but 3 times. And I don't think I'll ever get an answer as to why he was shot in the back.
An inquest into Todd McKenzie's death is due next year. New South Wales Police said it can't comment on a matter before the coroner. Mark hopes the hearings will provide answers about whether more could have been done to help his son.
A mental health clinician, I accept, may not know Todd as well as I do, but they're obviously going to be trained not to confront. They're going to be trained to try and communicate and walk it through with them.
I definitely think that changes should and can be made. I don't think it's the job of police to go out to take a mentally ill person to hospital.